Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome into another rainy day. Boy, look, I know we needed some rain, but I'm ready for a little bit of sunshine now. I mean, what is this? 4 days of just nonstop rain? I'm ready for a little break, a little sunshine. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. A federal judge ruled yesterday that President Donald Trump does, in fact, have the authority to invoke a wartime law to deport members of a Venezuelan gang he designated as a terrorist group. This, of course, further divides the judiciary and has prompt calls for a swift Supreme Court intervention. We have the details on this latest federal ruling. And President Trump's new pardon attorney says he'll scrutinize Joe Biden's 11th hour pardons. Now, wouldn't that be something if they found that his pardoning of little Hunter wasn't legal in those final days? EPA Chief Lee Zeldin says that he's going to make a change that will make every car owner happy. What do you think it is? Text me your guess. You can email me too, joey@joeyhudson.com. And a Turkey-based copper wire manufacturer announced yesterday it will invest $34 million in a new manufacturing operation in South Carolina, creating 135 new jobs.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So this is a change. A federal judge ruling yesterday that President Trump actually does have the authority to invoke a wartime law to deport members of a Venezuelan gang that he designated as a terrorist group. And this just has the federal judiciary scratching their heads because we have multiple district judges who have issued stays, injunctions to temporarily halt the deportation. Now we have this judge saying, oh, yeah, it's okay. That's what the law was intended to do, which just is prompting calls for the Supreme Court to step in and settle this once and for all. Trump can use the Alien Enemies Act to deport members of a Venezuelan gang, the Tren de Aragua group, according to this federal judge. This judge, of course, breaking with a number of other courts that have tried to block the administration. This is U.S. District Judge Stephanie Haynes. Now, she is a Trump appointee in Pennsylvania. But the judge concluded that the president can remove individuals affiliated with foreign terrorist organizations under the AEA. Now, she did determine the administration must provide detainees 21 days' notice in both English and Spanish before deportation can occur. Wow. I mean, okay, I'll give that one to her. Judge Haynes wrote in her 43-page opinion that her unflagging obligation is to apply the law as written. She wrote, having done its job, the court now leaves it to the political branches of the government and ultimately to the people who elect those individuals to decide whether the laws and those executing them continue to reflect their will. Trump's designation of Trinidad as a foreign terrorist organization and enables him to invoke the AEA. It dates back to 1798. It permits deportations during an invasion or predatory incursion by a foreign power. Though the law has previously been used only during wartime, the Trump administration invoked it back in March. The Democrats have been standing on their head ever since. They don't quite know how to respond. Well, actually they do, because they prompted the American Civil Liberties Union to file multiple lawsuits challenging Trump's use of the AEA, and now urging the Supreme Court to resolve the matter nationwide. Haynes' ruling, of course, contrasts with decisions from other federal judges in Texas, in New York, in Colorado. In one of those rulings, U.S. District Judge Fernando Rodriguez, he too a Trump appointee, concluded that Trump's use of the statute exceeds the scope of the statute and as a result is unlawful. Now, how can you get two educated people? You got to assume that these judges are fairly educated. They've been to law school and they've been appointed as a judge, to come up with two totally different opinions on whether or not this law can be used. How does that happen? Judge Haynes stopped from weighing in on whether gang members specifically fall under the AEA's jurisdiction. She limited her ruling to Trump's authority to act against designated terrorist groups. So basically, she doesn't have an opinion, or at least she's not expressing her opinion, as to whether or not Trinidad is a terrorist group. But she is saying that the law gives President Trump the authority to designate terrorist groups and to use the law to deport terrorist groups. So her decision lifts this temporary block that she issued last month and allows the administration to proceed with deportations in the Western District of Pennsylvania, contingent upon the proper notice. She said the court recognizes that it may need to conduct further analysis and consider additional issues related to the specifics of notice in the future. However, at this preliminary stage of this case, the court finds that the foregoing is appropriate and complies with the law. I hope the Trump administration gave every one of them a notice today so that the clock is ticking. This split in decisions across jurisdictions has created a very inconsistent legal landscape. Under prior district court rulings, the AEA cannot be used against migrants detained in parts of Texas, New York, and Colorado, as I mentioned a minute ago. In other parts of the country, it can be, I guess, until a district judge. You know, this is an interesting legal question. So if you live in a district, maybe one of you attorneys who's listening can email me the answer to this, joey@joeyhudson.com. So if you live in a district where a judge has not ruled either way in your district, can President Trump deport illegals from your area until a federal judge tells him otherwise? Because you've got, 3 or 4 districts around the country where the judges have stepped in and said, no, you can't do this. Now you've got this judge in Pennsylvania saying, yes, you can do it. So I know you can do it in Pennsylvania. But what about in areas where a judge hasn't ruled? I need to find the answer to that. In other legal news, Ed Martin Jr., who will be the Justice Department's new pardon attorney after President Trump pulled his nomination to be the top federal prosecutor for Washington, he said yesterday he plans to scrutinize pardons that former President Joe Biden issued on his way out of office. Now, this is going to be interesting, isn't it? He said these are big moments, so they have to be able to withstand scrutiny. He's talking to reporters after his last full day as acting U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. As you know, Biden had a number of pardons. He pardoned some of his siblings and their spouses in January on his last day in office. He also pardoned Dr. Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Milley, and members of House committee that investigated January 6th attack on the Capitol. None of them had been charged with any crime. The pardons were designed to guard against possible retribution by Trump. Trump pulled Martin's nomination last week amid bipartisan opposition when he realized he didn't have the votes. Instead, Martin will serve as an associate deputy attorney general and pardon attorney. And boy, that's in his new role. He'll be the director of the weaponization working group at the Justice Department, and having him going through these pardons, that's better than having him as a U.S. attorney, isn't it? This is going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. As you recall, in announcing his last-minute pardons, President Biden and his family had been subjected to unrelenting attacks and threats motivated solely by a desire to hurt me, the worst kind of partisan politics, Biden said in his explanation. Unfortunately, I have no reason to believe these attacks will end. Now, Mr. Martin told reporters he believes Biden's pardons need some scrutiny. He said they need scrutiny because we want pardons to matter and to be accepted and to be something that's used correctly. So I do think we're going to take a hard look at how they went and what they did. Good for him. Are you ready for this? I dropped over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan. No Ozempic, no shots, no meds. Look, I refuse to rely on prescriptions for life, and you probably feel the same. Joey Hudson here. Here's what Big Pharma won't tell you. Your body already makes GLP-1. That's the hormone that fights hunger. PhD helps your body produce it naturally, faster, and without side effects. With PhD, there's no muscle loss, no rebound weight gain, and no cravings. Just real, lasting weight loss the natural way. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. It takes 5 minutes and shows what's really happening inside your body. You'll walk out knowing how to flip your fat-burning switch. No shots needed. Don't trade your health for a quick fix. You can do this without Big Pharma and without the drugs. Plus 15% off when you fully commit to your program and the PhD Get Results Guarantee. Call now 864-644-1900. Start today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. We're all pretty familiar with what Doge did because it really captured our attention very early on as Elon Musk and his crew jumped in there on day one and worked to find fraud, to find abuse, to find waste. But as the Trump administration is really kind of getting settled in, we're starting to hear various other agencies announce changes that they're considering. Yes, Doge grabbed the headlines, but there's a lot of great work going on in other departments. And let me give you an example. Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin hinted this week that he's preparing to roll back one car feature that every driver hates. Can you guess what it is? Zeldin tweeted in a post that has since racked up more than 8 million views, "Start-stop technology, where your car dies at every red light so companies get a climate participation trophy. EPA approved it, and everyone hates it, so we're fixing it." Now, that's some good news, isn't it? I hate that feature. Don't you? When you're sitting at a stop sign or a stop light and your car just cuts off. It's the craziest thing I have ever known in a car, in a vehicle. And they just did it because of some crazy climate change during the Biden administration. Well, and you could probably give even Obama and the Clintons some credit to that, too. The feature kills internal combustion engines at red lights. It's been promoted by proponents for being able to conserve fuel and cut down on pollution. Wow. Now, critics question whether the feature can wear down the car's battery or engine more quickly. I mean, it just makes sense, doesn't it? That a engine starting and stopping, that can't be healthy for it. The off-cycle CO2 reducing tech has its origins in a federal rule proposed under former President Barack Obama in 2012. See, I told you Obama had something to do with it. It didn't take effect, though, until new fuel economy standards reduced greenhouse gas emissions 5 years later. So between 2012 and 2021, the number of vehicles produced with a stop-start feature due to the carbon credit surged from 1% to 45%. Up to 65% of vehicles had the technology included in new models by 2023. The smart stop tech can improve fuel economy by between 4% and 5%, according to past EPA estimates. But it hasn't shown clear reductions in emission tests, according to an EPA spokesperson. If finalized, automakers could no longer receive any credits to produce the stop-start tech in new models. Reps for the largest auto industry trade group, the Alliance for Automobile Innovation, didn't have a comment on it. The move follows Mr. Zeldin's targeting of other tax incentives from a New York climate law and green grants from the Biden administration as part of a renewable energy push. Zeldin charged that New York Governor Kathy Hochul unwisely ended safe extraction of natural gas hookups on new building construction, and gas stoves, but sought to cut sales of gas-powered vehicles and block the new Constitution pipeline's construction. In January, the EPA head revealed that he found $20 billion in taxpayer money parked at Citibank in Manhattan after it was authorized for an array of far-left activist groups following the passage of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which had nothing to do with reducing inflation, had more of climate change. President Trump asked Zeldin to unleash prosperity through deregulation with an executive order in January that designated the EPA and other agencies to eliminate at least 10 regulations for every new one proposed. I don't think they're going to have a trouble finding and identifying regulations that can be cut. This is a great one to start with. I never understood the start-stop technology. I mean, I knew what the theory was, but it just doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, how long you're sitting at a stoplight for what? A minute? How could that have any effect on the climate for that short period of time? And again, and it hasn't been around long enough, I just got to believe that it increases the wear and tear on your vehicle to the point I don't think the engine lasts as long. And we won't know that until these have been around a lot longer. Hopefully, the newer vehicles won't have it, and we won't have to deal with it. We won't have to worry about it. Just another crazy part of these climate activists. Let's talk about what's happening in Milwaukee. It's the kind of story that makes you shake your head and say, how did we get here? This is about the Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge I told you about last week. This judge has been indicted by a federal grand jury for allegedly helping an illegal immigrant avoid arrest in her own courtroom. Her name? Judge Hannah Dugan. So let me break this down for you. Last month, she was arrested for what prosecutors say was a deliberate move to shield a deported illegal alien, a man named Eduardo Flores Ruiz, from ICE agents who were waiting outside her courtroom. The feds say she pulled the guy out of a side door used by jurors, skipping past the officers entirely. Now think about that for a minute. A judge using the back door of her courtroom to help someone flee from federal agents. She is nuts. And there are a lot of others like her. Now, she's facing serious charges, and she should be. Felony obstruction of a federal agency and misdemeanor concealing a person to avoid arrest. She's expected back in court on Thursday of this week to enter her plea. Now, here's where it gets even more unbelievable, if you think it can. The man she allegedly helped hide, he wasn't just here illegally. He was facing 3 charges of battery, including on a woman who had to be hospitalized. According to Attorney General Pam Bondi, this guy beat a man 30 times, choked him, then beat up a woman so badly that both victims ended up in the hospital. And this is the guy Judge Dugan thought she should protect. Wonder how she'd have felt if he turned on her or a family member of hers. I mean, What are we doing here, folks? How are these people justifying this? Here's what DHS Secretary Kristi Noem had to say. We shouldn't be able to allow that in this country. Even judges need to be held accountable, and I agree with that. Absolutely right. This isn't about politics. This is about the rule of law. This is about law and order. And a judge should know this better than anybody. Shame on her. I hope they throw the book at her literally. Put her in jail. I mean, judges following the very laws that they're sworn to uphold are not following the laws that they're sworn to uphold. Because when they don't, we get chaos. We get criminals slipping through the cracks. We get victims left wondering who's really looking out for them. This isn't a sanctuary policy. This is sanctuary insanity. And let's be honest here. This never would have come to light if it weren't for the Trump administration's zero-tolerance stance on obstruction and immigration fraud. DHS, ICE, the FBI, they all work together to make this happen. That's what law enforcement coordination is supposed to look like. They're supposed to be helping one another. And I suspect that this judge will never sit on the bench again. She shouldn't. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has already temporarily relieved her of her duties. And they're right. She shouldn't be presiding over any cases until this one is resolved. Now, of course, Dugan's legal team is protesting, saying that this is all political. One of her attorneys even said that her arrest wasn't in the interest of public safety. I'm sorry here. Did I miss the part where helping a violent offender escape federal custody is not a threat to public safety? How can you make that argument? If you or me or anyone else had done the same thing, we would have been charged immediately. This is just outrageous. So now the ball's in the court, in the justice system. The very one Dugan was supposed to represent. Let the law play out. Let the evidence speak. But make no mistake, if she's guilty, she should be held accountable just like anyone else, maybe more, and she should never be allowed to be a judge again. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. Planned Parenthood just dropped their brand new annual report. It covers October 2022 to September 2023. Now, it's their first full report after the Dobbs decision. You remember that one, right? The Supreme Court finally overturned Roe v. Wade. It was a major victory for life. A decision 50 years in the making. But folks, if you thought Planned Parenthood was going to quietly pack up their scalpels and shut down shop, think again, and this report proves that. I've looked through every page of it, and it's surprising. It's jaw-dropping, actually. You ready for this? Planned Parenthood performed 402,230 abortions during that reporting period. Think about that for a minute. Let that number sink in. 400,000. That's roughly 4 out of every 10 abortions nationwide. They are, some people will say, the McDonald's of abortion. Now, let me ask you a simple question. Is that what a healthcare provider looks like to you? Over 400,000 abortions. And meanwhile, prenatal care, just 7,008 women. And that's not a typo, 7,000. That's a 57-to-1 ratio. For every 57 babies aborted, only one woman received prenatal care. No, that's not a healthcare provider. That's an abortion mill. Now, the other question is, well, what about adoptions? How many adoption referrals? 2,148. That's it. You're telling me with all this talk about choice, the option of adoption barely even registers in the overall scheme of things with Planned Parenthood. So what's the real mission here? Carol Tobias over at National Right to Life nailed it. She said, quote, "The abortion giant's primary mission to destroy preborn children cannot be more clear." And she's right, isn't she? This is a business. Planned Parenthood isn't about helping women or giving them options. It's about one thing, abortion. And these numbers prove that. Abortions on demand for any reason at any time. They call themselves a force for hope. Hope? Hope for who? The unborn baby doesn't stand a chance. What they offer is a dead baby. That's the outcome. That's the end game. That's their service, killing babies. Now, let's talk about the money, because this isn't just a tragedy. It is a racket. It's a scheme. Planned Parenthood pulled in over, you ready? $2 billion in revenue last year. $2 billion with a B. That makes them one of the most profitable nonprofits in the country. And guess what? And here's the real sickening part. Nearly $800 million of that, $792.2 million to be exact, came straight from you and me, the taxpayers. That's 39% of their revenue coming from government reimbursements and grants. Your tax dollars, my tax dollars, funding this abortion empire. And remember, in the wake of Dobbs, they couldn't legally perform abortions in some states. But they didn't stop. Nope. They just turned around and started facilitating support for women to travel across state lines to abortion-friendly states. That means Planned Parenthood became a travel agent for abortion tourism, if you will. Coordinating, funding, helping women cross state borders just to end a pregnancy, to kill a baby. So we defunded abortion in some states, and they turned around and used our money to export it somewhere else. Brilliant loophole, isn't it? If you support them. Absolutely disgusting. Now, I want you to think about this from a basic moral standpoint. Planned Parenthood claims to be about women's health. So where's the comprehensive care? Where's the real help for pregnant women who want to keep their babies? Where's the counseling, the housing assistance, the adoption planning, the prenatal vitamins? Things like my friends over at Carolina Pregnancy Center in Spartanburg provide. The real support for these young women. Where is that? It doesn't exist in Planned Parenthood's world. Randall O'Bannon, the research director over at National Right to Life, said it perfectly. Planned Parenthood puts abortion above genuine pregnancy-related services. And that's right. This isn't a healthcare provider. It's an abortion-first, abortion-always machine. Now, look, I'm not saying they don't provide other services. Sure, there's some cancer screenings, there's some STD testing, but let's not kid ourselves here. That stuff is just window dressing. It's a smokescreen, because the main event, the cash cow, is abortion. They can talk about counseling and helping these young women make the right decision. But in the end, with these numbers that we're seeing, over 400,000 abortions, it appears the right decision for Planned Parenthood is always abortion. And here's another point. Planned Parenthood doesn't even itemize what they spend on abortions. Their, quote, medical services cost $1.286 billion, according to their report. But good luck finding a breakdown of how much went to abortion procedures. They keep those numbers buried. And why? Because they know the public wouldn't stand for it. They know the truth would blow the lid off their whole operation. The cost of abortions vary depending on the procedure, how far along the pregnancy is and where you get it done. But they don't share any of that. Why? Because they don't want you to know how profitable this really is. So what do? Number one, we stop funding it. We need to finally, once and for all, cut off federal funding for Planned Parenthood. Talk to your representative. Talk to your U.S. senator. They're not entitled to our tax dollars. Let them survive on private donations if they can. But don't make us complicit. Number two, we support life-affirming alternatives. Crisis pregnancy centers like Carolina Pregnancy Center in Spartanburg, like Crossroads Women's Center in Greenwood. There's a lot of good ones out there. These crisis pregnancy centers, they're places that deserve our support. That's where hope actually lives. They do great work. And number three, we speak the truth. We don't let Planned Parenthood hide behind buzzwords like healthcare and choice. We call it what it is: abortion, death, and a business. A $1 billion business is exactly what it is. You know, this Boeing 747 that's been offered to the U.S. by Qatar, that according to President Trump yesterday, and he did clarify this, is going to the Department of Defense. It's created a lot of discussion, hasn't it? And I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, honestly. I'd love to get your feedback on it. The President Trump yesterday, as he was making his way across the ocean, talked about this with Sean Hannity. Hannity traveled with him on Air Force One. And look, you know, as the president said, the current Air Force Ones, they're 40 years old. So, yes, I do think it's probably time to update them. And there's a contract with Boeing to do that. President Trump signed it himself in his first term. They've gotten way behind, though. And now they're projecting that they will not be able to deliver those until after Trump leaves office. So the Qatar's royal family offered to donate a $400 million jumbo jet that could serve as a temporary Air Force One. The White House has pushed back against criticism of the president, saying that any gift from a foreign power is always accepted in full compliance with the laws. Now, President Trump wrote on True Social during his Saudi visit, saying the Boeing 747 is being given to the United States Air Force Department of Defense, not to me, in all caps. He said it's a gift from the nation Qatar that we have successfully defended for many years. It will be used by our government as a temporary Air Force One until such time as our new Boeings, which are very late on delivery, arrive. And he explained to Sean Hannity why he felt it's appropriate to accept a gift.
These planes, the plane that you're on right now is almost 40 years old. And when you land and you see Saudi Arabia and you see UAE and you see Qatar and you see all these, and they have these brand new Boeing 747s mostly, and you see ours next to it, this is like a totally different plane. It's much smaller, it's much less impressive as it is. And, you know, we're the United States of America. I believe that we should have the most impressive plane. So anyway, so they said to me, we would like to, in effect, we would like to make a gift. You've done so many things. And we'd like to make a gift to the Defense Department, which is where it's going. And I said, well, that's nice. Now, some people say, oh, you shouldn't accept gifts for the country. My attitude is, why wouldn't I accept a gift? We're giving to everybody else. Why wouldn't I accept a gift? Because it's going to be a couple of years, I think, before the Boeings are finished. And they'll be wonderful when they're finished.
Now, of course, some Democrats, led by Representative Richie Torres from New York, are calling for an ethics investigation over the gift. They wrote to the Government Accountability Office criticizing the deal as a flying grift arguing that it violates the emoluments clause of the U.S. Constitution. That clause specifically prohibits any person holding public office from accepting any emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. Torres wrote, I'm writing to express alarm over reports that President Donald Trump is poised to accept a luxury aircraft, a Boeing 747-8, from the government of Qatar. The plane, so opulent it has been described as a palace in the sky, is set to be made available to President Trump for official use as Air Force One and then for private use once he leaves office. Trump questioned why taxpayers should foot the bill for the aircraft when the U.S. can get one at no cost. He said, the big savings will be spent instead to make America great again. Only a fool who would not accept this gift on behalf of our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, this all started when reportedly President Trump toured the plane back in February when it was on the tarmac of the West Palm Beach airport in Florida. The gift has reportedly been tied up with legal reviews as the White House counsel's office and the Department of Justice review the legality of the president accepting such a pricey gift from a foreign nation. How do you feel about this? Should it be accepted? You know, I've had some people who have texted me and emailed me and said, well, you know, how do you trust it? How do you know that there's not some kind of tracking device that was built into the plane? And it could be a safety issue for the president. There are a lot of questions. I don't know. This one's above and beyond me. Look, the Democrats aren't the only ones who have questioned it either. There's been some Republicans who have questioned it as well. The current Air Force One fleet includes 2 planes. Trump awarded the Boeing a $3.9 billion contract in 2018. Think about that. 2018, they still haven't delivered. The construction of the jets is now expected to be completed in 2029. Wow. How do you get that far behind? Somebody explain that to me. Good news for South Carolina. A Turkey-based copper wire manufacturer announced yesterday that it's investing $34 million to establish a 91,000 square foot facility that will manufacture superfine electrolytic, I guess so, What is that? Electrolytic oxygen-free EOF copper wire. This will take place in Fairfield County. Mega Metal, which has more than 700 employees and distributes products to more than 30 countries, said the project would create 135 new jobs in South Carolina. Once fully operational, the facility is expected to produce 55 million pounds of wire annually. A spokesperson for the company said through this investment, Mega Metal is poised to become a key player in the U.S. supply chain, offering strategic support to high-demand industries across the continent. Operations are expected to start in September. Governor Henry McMaster wrote in a statement, this $34 million investment and the 135 new jobs will bring opportunity to Fairfield County, boosting the region's economy. Manufacturing is thriving in South Carolina. McMaster said, I'm confident Mega Metal will be well positioned with our strong workforce. The project will be Mega Metal's first South Carolina operation. So that's going to be great for Fairfield County. Great jobs. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com. And I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.